Chapter 28. Narration of Visions. I bow down Shri Ganesh, I bow down Shri Saraswati, I bow down the Guru, I bow down the family divinity, I bow down Shri Sita Chandra, I bow down Shri Satguru Sai. Sai is not confined to one place. Sai dwells in all creation, from Brahma to small creatures like ants and flies. He pervades all and is everywhere. Sai was well versed in the Vedas and had all the attributes of the absolute Brahma. As he was proficient in both, he was well fitted to be the Satguru. One may be very learned but not able to awaken the disciple and establish him in self-realization. Then he does not deserve to be called a Satguru. A father gives birth to the body and death invariably follows life. The Guru releases you from birth and death, so his comparison is greater than anyone else. Now listen to the chapter on dreams with reference to the earlier context of how Baba gave darshan to his devotees by appearing in their dreams. He asked one to draw a tree and another was asked for khichdi, and still another was beaten with a stick on his back in the form of his teacher. He frightened somebody by appearing in his dream and made him leave his addiction for alcohol. Warding off many such problems of his devotees, he strengthened their devotion. The listeners have already heard how he flared the skin of someone's back with a cane and used his chest as a grinding stone and took another stone as a roller to grind. All this has been narrated in chapter 10. The stories that follow are rare and excellent. The listeners are the narrator will be blessed as they harmonize. They will have everlasting happiness. Let me narrate these stories about saints which are always very pure, which will wipe out the sins of listening to untruth, malicious remarks, etc. But let me tell you those stories. Listeners should hear them with respect. They will relieve Sai's compassionate nature at every step. The Raleigh brothers were Greek merchants who brought things from all over India and had their business establishments in different cities, out of which Bombay was one. At that time, Lakshmi Chand worked under one of the officers there. He was very honest and obedient. He worked as a Munsi. He worked with the railways first and then with Venkatesh Press. It was only then that he came in contact with Sai. Hear how it happened. My man can be in any place, even thousands of miles away. I will draw him to me with a string tied to his feet like a sparrow flitting. Baba said these words often. People not only heard them frequently but also experienced that. I shall narrate that sort of Babas. Many such children from various places were brought to Shirdi, of whom Lakshmi Chand was one. He was a devoted child of Baba. He only met a saint who dispels darkness, born of ignorance. When the good deeds of many lives are brought to the fore by the fate. The fire of discrimination is ignited when the fortune favors and we gain detachment. The accumulated karmas of past births end and life becomes fulfilled. Once Sainath fills the vision, there is no room for anyone else there. Even when the eyes are closed, it is Sainath that encompasses the vision. I met Lakshmi Chand. I met Lakshmi Ji. I met Lalaji Lakshmi Chand and he narrated his experience which I have treasured in my heart with great love. I shall narrate them with eagerness. See how he was taught. The Leela is unparalleled. Devoted listeners hear it with complete concentration. It was during the Christmas holiday of 1910 that Lalaji got an opportunity to come to Shirdi. That was the first time he had darshan, but let us hear what happened to him a couple of months earlier to give indication to this event. When he was at Santa Cruz, he had a strange dream all of a sudden about a matter which had never entered his mind before. He saw a bearded old sadhu surrounded by devotees. This Mahatma was standing thus, to whom he paid his loving reverence. Sometime later, Lakshmi Chand went to the house of Dattatreya Manjunath Birju to hear the kirtan of Das Ganu. It was always the practice of Das Ganu to keep Baba's picture in front of him. Immediately on seeing it, Lakshmi Chand was reminded of the man he had seen in his dream. It was the same beard, the same age, the same features and limbs. Lakshmi Chand concentrated and felt that this was the same Mahatma. To begin with, it was Das Ganu's kirtan in which there was the apology of the Karam and then the darshan of the sadhus, his dream. Lalaji was deeply engrossed. Lakshmi Chand, who was very tender-hearted, had loving tears in his eyes. He yearned to meet and see the personage in the picture. He had no other thought in his mind except that of the person he saw earlier in his dream, and whose picture he had seen in the kirtan. His inner inclination was fixed there only. Will I meet a friend who will accompany me to Shirdi? When will I put my head in person at this same speed? Will I ever be able to have the darshan of this sadhu? Will I ever be able to enjoy the bliss of his love? Such was Lakshmi Chand's constant longing. The money for the expenses must also be arranged. Then what should be done next? How will the darshan be obtained quickly? Some method will have to be found. Good God always longs for love. See what a miracle happened. The same night around 10 o'clock, 8 o'clock, a friend knocked at his door. Then when he opened the door and looked, he saw his friend Shankar Rao, who asked Lakshmi Chand if he would like to go to Shirdi. I planned to go to Khedigaon for the darshan of Narayan Maharaj, but I had a strong desire to go to Shirdi first. One has to make efforts to get what one desires, but the chance for which he was waiting fell right into his lap. Lakshmi Chand could not contain his joy. He borrowed 15 rupees from his cousin. Shankar Rao did the same. They made preparations for the departure. They got together their bag and baggage and got ready to leave. They went in time to get the tickets and both got the train. Shankara was a good singer of bhajans and both sang in the train. Lakshmi Chand, out of curiosity, made inquiries on the way. If he met anyone going to Shirdi, he would greet them on meeting them and say, "Tell us about Sai Baba's greatness according to your experience." "Sai Baba is a great saint and well known near Nagar," he said. "Tell us clearly of some personal experience." In the compartment, there were 4 Muslims who lived near Shirdi. Lakshmi Chand felt content in conversing and gossiping with them. Tell us anything you know about Sai Baba," Lakshmi Chand asked them with devotion and love. "Sai Baba is a great saint and has lived in Shirdi for many years. He is a great awliya and sage," they replied. Thus, in happy conversation, they completed the journey till both of them reached Kopargaon. There, the saint was reminded of something. Sai Baba like was, and they grow in Kopargaon. It is said that they are sold on the banks of the Godavari. So we will offer them to Baba. But when they came to the banks of the Godavari, he was so fascinated by the scenic view that he forgot all about the Uvas till the Tanga reached the opposite bank. From there, Shirdi was only 4 villages away and the Tanga was at full speed. Lakshmi Chand then remembered the Guvas where they were none to be seen. At that moment, an old woman with a basket on her head was seen running after the Tanga. The carriage was stopped for her and it seemed as if the Guvas had come to meet him. Lakshmi Chand was filled with joy. He selected the guavas with care. For those that remained in the basket, the old woman asked them to offer to Baba on her behalf. Remembering the guavas and then forgetting about them, the unexpected meeting with the old woman and seeing her devotion to Sai, all this surprised both of them. First, I saw an old man in a dream, then encountered him at the kirtan. This old woman must have been some relative of his, guessed Lakshmi Chand. May it be whatsoever. The tongue continued the journey and they reached Shirdi in no time. They saw the flags above the masjid from afar and they both bore with devotion. They took all the necessary items of the puja and went to the darshan immediately. They felt very happy after taking Sai's darshan. Entering the courtyard from the entrance door and seeing Baba's form from a distance, they were in deep emotional state. On having the darshan of the desired personage, Lakshmi Chand was totally absorbed. He forgot hunger and thirst and was in a supreme bliss. Taking clean water in his hands, he washed Baba's lotus feet and did puja in the traditional way. Then he offered bananas and coconut. He offered incense, weighed light, betel leaf, and made a momentary offering. Mentally circumambulated, offered a garland of flowers, and then sat near his feet. Lakshmi Chand, being a loving devotee, basked in the grace of his Guru and having attained Sai's lotus feet, hovered over them like a bee. Then Baba began to speak in Hindi. The rascal sang bhajans in the way and made inquiries of others. Why ask others? See everything with your eyes. Why ask anyone else? Is the dream true or not? Come to your own decision. What was the necessity of coming for darshan after borrowing money from a Marwari? Is your heart's desire fulfilled now? They were stupefied by these words. Lakshmi Chand felt very greatly surprised that Baba should have the knowledge of the inquiries he had made on the way. I had a dream. I had a dream at home. I did bhajans on the train. How did Baba come to know about it? How amazing is the knowledge of the secret of the heart. He also knows that in my eagerness for darshan, I borrowed money to make up the full amount as there was shortage of money. Lakshmi Chand was greatly surprised, and so were all the devotees gathered there. The bees hovering at the lotus feet felt that Baba's knowledge was beyond imagination. The principal lesson was that Baba did not like running into debt to celebrate a festival or to go on holiday or a pilgrimage. So be it. With all the devotees, Lakshmi Chand went to Satheswara. In the afternoon, he sat for lunch with great joy. At that moment, some devotee brought sanza as Baba's prasad and distributed a little to each one on the leaf used as lunch plate. He enjoyed this very much. The next day at meal time, Lalaji recalled the sanza, but it was not available every day, so he was anxious to get it again. But on the third day, there was a marvel. Maharaj Sai granted his unfulfilled craving. See how he arranged it. Joe came to the masjid with sandalwood paste, concentrated rice, flowers, bell niranjan, and the 5-wick lamp, etc., and asked Baba, "What should I bring for Naivedya today?" Maharaj instructed, "Bring me a platful of sanza. You can do the Aarti Puja later." Leaving the puja paraphernalia there, Jog immediately went back and returned in no time, bringing Shira with him enough for everybody. Then the noon Aarti took place. The platters of Naivedyas brought by the devotees earlier were being sent up. Then Baba said to his devotee, "Today is a good fine day. I have felt that sanza should be today's prasad. So get it quickly. Everyone should eat to their heart's content." Then the devotee went and brought 2 big pots full of sanza. Lakshmi Chand felt hungry and he also had a pain in the back. Lakshmi Chand was uncontrollable on account of his hunger and backache. Then listen with care to the words that came from Baba's lips. "It is good that you are hungry, but the pain in the back needs medicine. Sanza has arrived in abundance. Get up for the Aarti." In Hindi. Baba's words were an echo in Lakshmi Chand's thoughts. Without him having made a sound, Maharaj was a knower of secrets of the heart. May it be so. After the Aarti, sanza was served. At the time of lunch, Lakshmi Chand's craving was satisfied. He was happy. Since then, he was devoted to Baba. He regularly offered agarbattis, coconut, garland. Lakshmi Chand also prospered. The puja was regular and ritualistic. He developed such a devotion for Sai that whenever he found someone going to Shirdi, he sent along with him garland, dakshina, camphor, and agarbattis. Whenever Lakshmi Chand came to know that someone was going to Shirdi, he sent these 3 things with dakshina for Baba without fail. On that trip, when Lakshmi Chand went to see the Chawri procession, Baba started coughing and breathed hard with distress. Lakshmi Chand thought, how this cough is troubling him. It seems as somebody has cast an evil eye, and that is why he is coughing. This was only a thought that arose in Lakshmi Chand's mind. The next morning, when he came to the masjid, how surprising it is that Baba said the same thing, translating his thought in speech. When Madhav Rao came, Baba spoke to him on his own. "Yesterday I had a lot of coughing. It is because of somebody's evil eye. I feel that somebody has cast an evil eye on me. Therefore, this cough is frequently worrying me and making me suffer." Lakshmi Chand was surprised at this repetition of his own thoughts. How did Baba know this? Is he all pervasive? Then folding his hands, he supplicated him, "I am very pleased with your darshan. Therefore, continue to grant me this favor and protect me, Maharaj. Now, there is no other God except these feet. Let my mind be ever absorbed in your worship and at your feet always." He said, I lay my head now at your feet and ask for your permission to leave, Sai Samartha. Now grant it to us and look to me always with the same kindness. Let your continuing grace keep me free from all worldly problems. Let the chanting of your name fulfill us and give us happiness and contentment always. Lakshmi Chand returned after receiving Udi and blessings with his friend and joyfully sung about Sai's glory on the way home. Similarly, another sparrow was tied and brought to Shirdi by Baba when the time was right for darshan. Listen to that novel way. The sparrow was a loving lady. Her story is very wonderful. She lived in Burhanpore, where she saw Sai Maharaj in a dream. She had never seen Baba in person, but still she had a dream that Baba has come and is standing at her door, asking for a meal of khichdi. She she woke up immediately, but found no one at that place. She told about her dream to everyone promptly. Her husband was an official in the postal department of the same town. Later, he was transferred to Akola and they made preparation to visit Shirdi. The couple was very devout and became anxious besides darshan. They were very curious about the dream and felt that Sai's Leelas were inexplicable. So, on a convenient day, they left for Shirdi. On the way, they paid their homage at the Gomti Tirth and reached Shirdi. They took Baba's darshan with love and worshipped him with devotion. Serving at Baba's feet regularly, they were full of happiness. Thus, the couple stayed happily at Shirdi for 2 months. Baba was also satisfied with the khichdi meal and their faith and devotion. The couple came to Shirdi to offer khichdi as naivedya, but though a fortnight had passed, the khichdi was not offered as naivedya. There was a delay in fulfilling the determined resolution, and the lady did not like it. On the 15th day at the noontime, she came with the khichdi. The curtains were already drawn, and Baba had already sat down for the meal with his devotees. The lady understood this. When the meal was in progress, no one went beyond the curtains. But the lady was eager and she could not remain quiet in the courtyard. She had come to Shirdi from Akola with the enthusiasm of offering khichdi. How can its acceptance remain unfulfilled was her anxiety. Without listening to anyone, she raised the curtains with her own hands, and without taking anyone's permission, she entered and fulfilled her wish. Then Baba did something wonderful. He longed so much for khichdi that he asked for it to be served first and held the platter with both hands. He was delighted to see the khichdi. Taking morsel after morsel, Baba fed himself. Everyone was wonderstruck. Seeing Baba's eagerness, everybody was surprised. Then when they heard the story about khichdi, they realized Baba's inexplicable behavior. Now, after hearing the next story, you will be choked with emotion. A Gujarati Brahmin came unexpectedly to Shirdi to serve. He had been employed earlier by Rao Bahadur Sathe. He could reach Baba's feet due to his honest services. The story is also very interesting. The Lord fulfills the desire for anyone who has an inclination for loving devotion. Listen to it. His name was Megha. He attained a place at Shirdi because of some connection with Sai in his previous birth. Get ready to listen to the story. Sathe was an officer of Kheda Jilha, where he came across Megha unexpectedly. He employed him for doing regular Shiv Puja. Later, this Sathe came to Shirdi, and this is what changed his fortune. He came in close contact with Sai Maharaj there and was deeply devoted to his feet. Seeing the large crowds, those who came for pilgrimage had decided to have his own vada there for the convenience of the visitors who came with family and friends. Then he met the leading villagers and acquired that piece of land where Baba had first been seen. It was decided to build the vada there. The importance of this holy place of land has been fully described in the 4th chapter, so there is no need for repetition. Let us continue the narration. Megha's merits of past lives were great, because of which he came in contact with Rao Bahadur Sathe. It was then only that he started making spiritual progress thanks to Sathe's efforts. Due to circumstances, Megha was unable to perform the prescribed rituals. By having him taught the Gayatri Mantra, Sathe made him follow the righteous path. Megha started serving Sathe, and this caused their mutual respect to grow. Megha regarded Sathe as a guru and developed affection for him. So be it. Once, when Sathe was casually talking and describing the greatness of his own guru, he was choked with emotion and he respectfully asked Megha, I have a strong desire to bathe Baba with water from Godavari. Therefore, I am sending you to Shirdi specifically for this purpose. Besides seeing your wholehearted devotion, I feel that you should be associated with Satguru and develop a devotion at his feet. The purpose of your life will be fulfilled and you will attain supreme well-being. Go and surrender with your whole being to the Satguru. Megha asked him about Baba's caste. In reality, Sathe had no knowledge of it, he said. Some call him a Muslim because he sits in masjid. The word Muslim At the word Muslim, Megha's mind wavered. None could be lower than a Muslim. What sort of a guru could he be? He knew that Sathe could get annoyed if he refused, but was convinced that he would spiritually fall low if he agreed. He was very confused and worried. He was between the devil and the deep sea. He was wavering and uneasy. But Sathe's insisted a lot, so he decided to take darshan. Then Megha came to Shirdi and arrived at the courtyard of the masjid. As he started to climb the steps, Baba started his leela. He became wild with rage and picking up a stone in his hand said, "Beware if you put your feet on the steps. This place is inhabited by a Muslim. You are a high caste Brahmin and I, the lowest of low, a Muslim. You will be defiled. Go back." Their anger form was like another Rudra at the time of the dissolution of the world. The onlookers trembled with fear and Megha was quaking. But this anger was superficial. Inwardly he was overflowing with compassion. Megha was filled with surprise and was perplexed. How did he come to know my inner thoughts? The distance between Keregaon and Ahmednagar is considerable. It seems that he wants to expose my mind full of doubts. As Baba ran forward to strike him, Megha's courage failed him. He moved backwards with every step and had no courage to move forward. He remained in this manner for some days. He observed Baba in various modes. He rendered whatever service he could, but did not develop full faith. Later he returned home where he fell sick and was confined to bed. There he began to contemplate upon Baba and came back to Shirdi. At that time when he came, he continued to stay there. He became devoted to Sai. He became a dedicated devotee of Sai. There was no divinity for him other than Sai. Megha was already a Shankar devotee. When he got attached to Sai's feet, he looked on Sainath as Shankar. He was his Umanath. Megha continuously chanted Sai Shankar day and night, and his inner self was merged in this form. His mind was pure and free of sin. He became a dedicated devotee of Sai. He felt that Sai was Shankar himself. He chanted of Shankar, Shankar reverberated. He did not believe in any other deity. Worship of Sai was worship of God to him. Sai was his Girija Rama. With this idea firmly rooted in his mind, Megha remained always happy. Shankar likes bay leaves, but there were no bale trees in Shirdi. Therefore, Megha went for a course and half to fulfill his desire of offering these leaves. For him, a course or two was nothing. He was ready even to cross a mountain for bale, for he would have fulfilled his desire to do puja as he wanted it to be done. He would bring the bale from long distance, get together all the puja paraphernalia completely, then worship all the village deities one by one. He would offer to all according to the proper ritual. After that, he would come immediately to the masjid, lovingly bow at Baba's feet, wash his feet, etc., and then drink the water as tea. Further stories about Megha will be delightful to listen. They will show Sai's all-pervasiveness and reverence for the village deities. Therefore, till Megha was in Shirdi, he performed the noon aarti regularly. But before that, he worshipped all the village deities and then went to the masjid. This was his regular routine, but on one day, this pattern was broken. He could not worship Khandoba, though he made the efforts. He tried to do the puja, but the door of the temple did not open in spite of his efforts. Therefore, he omitted that and came to the masjid to do the aarti. That moment, Baba said to him, "Today there is a break in your puja. You have worshipped all deities, but one has remained unworshipped. Go and do that and then come here." Megha replied, "The door was locked and would not open, though I tried. Therefore, I was forced to omit that puja." Baba said, "Go and see. The door is open now." Megha went immediately without wasting a moment and found that the words were correct. He worshipped Khanderaya and Megha also got rid of his uneasiness. Then Baba allowed Megha to do his puja. Then he did the puja with great reverence, with sandalwood paste, flowers, and the other 8 offerings. He offered dakshina, garlands, fruits, etc. according to his means. On one Makar Sankranti day, he felt like anointing Baba's whole body with sandalwood paste and then giving him a bath with Godavari water. He persisted Baba for permission, so Baba said, "Go and do as you desire." So immediately Megha took a copper vessel and set out for the water. Early in the morning before sunrise, Megha took the empty copper vessel and without an umbrella or chappal set out to get water from the Godavari. The entire distance for coming and going was about 8 kos. It did not even occur to him to think of the exertion of these strenuous efforts he could have would have to make. Megha was not at all worried about this. He set out on getting the permission. When there is a strong determination, there is a great joy in performing the task. When he thought of giving a bath to Sai with Godavari water, he was not bothered about the strenuous efforts or the exhaustion. His firm faith was his support. So be it. He brought the water and poured it into a wide-mouthed copper pot. He began to pursue Baba to get up for bath, but he did not agree. The noon aarti is over and the people have gone to their homes. After the preparations for the bath have been made, and it is afternoon, said Megha. Seeing Megha's great insistence, then Sai is in support and as if in a mock fight took Megha's hand in his hands and said, It's I do not wish to bathe in the Godavari waters. How immature can you be? Why does a fakir like me want Ganga waters? What is it to me? But Megha was not prepared to listen at all, since he believed that Baba was the Shankar. He only knew that Shankar is pleased with Ganga's water. He said, Baba, today is a festival of Makar Sankranti. When Shankar is given bath with the waters of Gangas, he is propitiated. Then, considering his love and his adamant resolution, Baba said, fulfill your wish, as Megha was pure of heart. After saying that, he got up and sat down on the low stool made ready for the bath. He bent forward his head and said, pour just a little water. Out of all the limbs, the head is the most important. Pour a little water on it. It is as good as having a full bath. At least listen to that much. Agreeing to do so, Megha picked up the pot. He was so overwhelmed with love while pouring it on the head that he emptied it completely while shouting Haraganga and poured it on the whole body. Megha was gratefully joyful. My Shankar has bathed with his clothes on, he said as he put down the empty pot. When he looked, he was greatly surprised. Though he had poured the water on the whole body, only the head was wet. All the other limbs were absolutely dry. There was not even a drop of water on the clothes. Megha's pride was crushed. Those who were around were surprised. Shri Sai thus gratifies the fancies of his devotees. You felt like giving me a bath? Go ahead and do it to satisfy your desire. While doing that also, you will easily come to know my inner powers, Baba seemed to say by this leela. This is the principle of devotion to Sai. If only through good fortune you reach him, then nothing is impossible to achieve. Gradually, everything becomes easy. Casually, while sitting, talking, going for walks in the morning and in the afternoon, if the devotee is faith and patient, he achieves whatever he desires. But any power or miraculous sign was shown in the course of normal routine. Gradually, he created inherent interest and made them understand spiritual matters. There is another story of Megha which will please the listeners very much. Seeing Sai's love for his devotees, the listeners will be pleased. A big picture of Baba, which Nana Chandorkar had newly given, was placed in the Vada by Megha and he worshipped it regularly. The real image of the masjid and the exact replica in the Vada worshipped with Aarti at both the places day and night. When about 12 months had passed in doing this divine service, when Megha was awake early one morning, he saw a vision. Megha was lying in bed, and though he had his eyes closed, he was fully awake and he saw Baba distinctly. Baba too was aware that he was awake. He then threw concentrated rice on the bed and said, Megha, draw a trident, and then disappeared there and then. Listening to these words of Baba, Megha opened his eyes with great enthusiasm. He was very surprised to find that Baba had disappeared. Then Megha looked all round. There were grains of rice scattered everywhere on the bed. The doors, the Vada, were closed as earlier. Hence, he was confused. He went to the masjid immediately. While taking Baba's darshan, Megha told him the story of the trident and asked permission to draw it. Megha related the vision with all details. Baba said, How can it be a vision? Did you not hear my words? I told you to draw the trident. Are you trying to test my words by calling it a vision? My words are always very profound, and not a syllable is empty. I too felt this at the first, that you had woken me, but not a single door was open. That's why I felt differently, replied Megha. Listen to Baba's answer. I do not need a door to enter. I have no form or dimension. I am always everywhere. For the one who places his burdens in me and has become one with me, I manipulate all his actions like the actions of Merotni. So be it. The subsequent marvelous narration about the purpose of the trident should be heard with great enthusiasm, with great attention. The connection will become evident. On one hand, Megha returned and began to draw the trident on the wall near the picture and the vada. He outlined the trident in red color. The next day, a Ramdasi devotee from Pune came to the masjid. He did obeisance to Baba with love and presented him with a lingam. Just then, Megha too arrived there and did an eightfold obeisance to Baba. Baba said, "Your Shankar has come. Now you look after him." Upon getting the lingam in this manner, immediately after the vision of the trident, Megha kept on gazing at the lingam, overcome with emotion. Kaka Sahib Dikshit too had another marvelous experience, the lingam. Listen with reverence to everything. Your faith in Baba will become firmer. While Megha set off from masjid with lingam, Dikshit was engrossed in chanting the Lord's name after his bath in the vada. Wiping his body with a clean washcloth, a towel covering his head, he stood on a stone concentrating on Sai. He was chanting the Lord's name as per his usual practice with his head covered. He then had a vision of the lingam. Dikshit thought, why did I today get the darshan of the lingam where I was chanting the Lord's name? There was Megha in front of him, looking very gratified. Megha said, "Look, Kaka, look at the lingam that Baba has given." Kaka was surprised and pleased to see this particular lingam. It was the same shape, size, marking like this one that had appeared in his meditation just a little earlier. Dikshit was delighted. Be it so. Later, after the drawing of trident was complete, Sai got Megha to establish the lingam near the picture. Since Megha liked to worship Shankar by presenting him with the Shankar Lingam, Sai strengthened his devotion. Such are the marvelous narration about Sai. Is there only one such story? I can relate innumerable, but this book would become extremely lengthy. Therefore, I ask the listeners pardon. Yet, as you listeners are anxious, I will relate one more in the next chapter. You will see Sai's marvel, which is even more singular. Hemant surrenders to Sai, makes people listen to the Satcharitra, by which the danger of the mundane existence will be warded off and everybody's difficulties will be removed. May there be well-being. This is the end of the 28th chapter of Shri Sai Samatha Satcharitra, written by the devotee Hemar Pant, implied by the saint virtuous people, called Narration of Visions. This is offered to Shri Satguru Sainath. May there be auspiciousness.